I know there are lots of videos about perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. And perimenopause gets a lot of attention, and rightly so. Many women don't know if they are experiencing perimenopause symptoms. And it's a great thing to Google if you find that your healthcare provider just isn't listening to you, or you want to know whether or not this is you. But I saw a question, I think it was on Facebook, where someone said, how does this end? Like, when I get into menopause and beyond, am I going to have a decrease in symptoms? Please tell me this will go away. And what this person meant with this is the mood swings, the hot flashes, the fatigue, the insomnia, the wired and tired feeling, the moodiness, cravings, the weight gain, because that's a big thing in perimenopause where the weight comes on and women say no matter what they do, I can't get rid of it. So there's all of these changes that are happening to us. And brain fog, I forgot that one. That's a fun one. And women are wondering if when you get to my stage, which is postmenopause, is this all going to go away? So this is what I want to talk to you about in this video. I want to share with you what it's like being postmenopausal for over a decade from a physical, an emotional, and even a spiritual standpoint, because my feelings, my thoughts, my emotions have in some ways heightened, in some ways changed, and I think a lot differently about life now as I move towards 60. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Tanya. I love to talk about all things pro-aging from all kinds of different perspectives, nutrition and mindful eating, but also just discussions about how we're thinking as we age. And if you are coming back to another video, thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, I really would appreciate it if you gave me a little like, if you would subscribe, and even leave a comment if there's something you want to chat about. What about the after party then, post-menopause? Will these symptoms that you are experiencing, will they go away once you hit this stage of postmenopause? Maybe. Many women experience those symptoms that I mentioned well past their menopause year. So that year where they get their last period, you kind of wait 12 months, and if you don't get one, then you are considered to be in menopause or postmenopause. I find this whole thing confusing, but really there is a postmenopause stage. And so while you may still have these hot flashes and all of these other symptoms, you may also know that your risk for certain chronic issues does go up. So things like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, bone issues like osteopenia or osteoporosis. We have increased risk of changes to our brain because we've lost the protective mechanisms of estrogen, progesterone, and those play into the other chronic issues that I mentioned as well. But fear not, it sounds like it's gloom and doom. It really highlights how we need to pay attention to our bodies, our health in a physical way as we age. And I don't just mean like stressing about what we eat, although I've made videos here about protein and blood sugar and fiber, and I think blood sugar balance is really key when it comes to the brain. I don't mean in a way that like strips your life of food joy. There's a time and a place to enjoy certain things, how you combine them, how you eat them in the day, how often you eat them, but really being a little more cognizant of the way you may approach life, the way you may approach nutrition, the way you may feed yourself, and paying a little more attention, if you can, and if it's within your means, to your nutrition and supplementation, if you can do that. If you do struggle with cravings, mindful eating can be a very helpful addition to the way you approach food. But what about the emotional aspect of being postmenopausal? When we were in perimenopause, let me know in the comments if you can relate. The rage. I have heard women say, I can't stand my partner chewing or breathing. And it bubbles up out of nowhere. You could be at work and a coworker triggers you and you get really angry, or you might feel like you just get really angry at your adult children and it isn't warranted, or maybe you get angry at yourself. Your mood swings in perimenopause can be quite volatile. Like you can feel a little bit like a volcano. So when you enter the post-menopause phase, most of us have those taper off a little bit. But I have to say from my experience, and I've done a lot of work on myself, my emotions are a little different. So rather than this moodiness, this up and down feeling, I have a lot more sometimes sadness for the past, for the times that I've spent sort of worrying too much and letting a bit of my life slip away. I have regret, and I feel more emotional towards my family members because potentially I'm going into a different stage, almost the last chapter. So this emotional part has really shifted where maybe I am more pensive. I think a lot more, but I try to be also more joyous and let some of that small stuff, which when I was in perimenopause, it didn't seem so small, but let some of that small stuff kind of go to the wayside if the dishwasher didn't get unloaded or things like that. And when I say I feel regret, I feel a lot of regret about maybe who I was in those years and even my younger years. I have people in my life that I wish I could apologize to, and I can. I just really have to be aware that I'm doing that as something that is genuine, not looking for an acceptance of apology. So there's a lot of different emotions that have come with this post-menopausal stage. And I still have grief from sometimes the loss of my parents, but the loss of my partner, who I lost to suicide when I was in my later 30s. So coming to terms with what was, accepting parts of the life that I've had, whether it turned out the way I wanted to or not, has been a huge part of post-menopause, really trying to find some balance in emotions and some peace. And this is where this is leading me into something more spiritual, I guess, because I am aging and having mobility issues. I've talked about that here too, facing a knee replacement. I think about what my time is going to be like. Am I going to be like my mother in a wheelchair? What is the end going to be like? What is death going to be like? How many more years do I have? And what happens after? What do I believe? And even if I need a belief system to hold on to as I move towards those final years. So the spiritual component of life is also taking shape for me here. And you may relate to this. Maybe you have a church that you go to regularly. You may have a very specific religion that you practice. Maybe you are more what you call it spiritual, where you believe in a higher power, or you just believe in the universe and that we have something bigger or we are all one. Whatever it is you believe, many of us in these years, in these post-menopausal years, may search for meaning, right? Making meaning of life. And I think when you start to think of what can be beyond, it helps give us some meaning to our existence here on earth. And maybe what I'm going to leave you with is the thought of purpose. I've struggled with making a video here about purpose because I sometimes think that it can be a little bit toxic, right? Like we have videos out there to find your purpose, find your passion. And for sure, this is an age where finding our passion or being able to finally do what we want to do and maybe discovering new things that we want to do can really give us a rich life, a rich, meaningful life. But if your purpose is to enjoy nature or enjoy your grandchildren or just to settle in the backyard, read a book, and cook in the kitchen, then sometimes if you listen to other people who are doing what seems like grandiose things as part of their purpose, you may feel like you lack. And so I really find this whole topic of finding your purpose a little bit hard to discuss. I don't know how I want to discuss that yet because I think much like there's toxic positivity, maybe there's toxic purposefulness, if that's even a thing. I hope I'm not leaving you with a lot of negativity when I talk about your symptoms may stay with you. They are going to stretch out a little bit. They may get few and far between. They may leave you completely. And maybe you're not even having a rough perimenopause. You just want to talk about what it's like when you get to that other side, that stage after menopause, the postmenopausal stage. What's it going to be like? Like, what will I feel? Will I feel like I have a fulfilled life? And maybe what I want to leave you with here too is that many people say the words, well, it's too late now. I should have done that earlier. I hope to the end of my days, I carry that saying that it's never too late. You know, if you want to start a YouTube channel, it's never too late. If you want to start a podcast, it's never too late. If you want to go take swimming lessons, I think I'm going to do that this fall. I've been swimming in the pool. It's never too late. I really think that limits us. And even if you have, like me, I have had a dream to have a property and maybe rescue some animals, and financially that may never happen, but I'm not going to give up the dream. I don't want to ever put a cap on a dream and say that it's too late, because things can change and you can change, circumstances can change. And I choose to believe in that way because it kind of keeps me dreaming and a little bit light, and I get some joy out of it. If you are postmenopausal, let me know in the comments. Did you find it was a tough transition? Are you struggling with something now? And you know, I forgot one of the aspects of emotions in the postmenopausal stage, where I said that I was becoming more self-aware of things, is sifting through the people in my life and not feeling like I have to be obligated to keep certain people in my life. I'm reassessing relationships and I want to have really connected and full relationships. I've said it before somewhere that I even am reassessing the partner in my life. We're talking about that because we have changed. And I think it's a healthy conversation, at least for us, to see whether or not we are on the same page. And now, if you have this situation where maybe you don't feel connected to your partner, or your partner is not feeling connected to you, and things are finalizing, maybe you're splitting up. This is a heavy emotional stage. You know, people are not always finding peace. There is a lot of grief in this stage. I'd really love to hear from you in the comments, whether you haven't hit perimenopause yet, whether you're in the thick of it, whether you are in menopause, or you are into a lot more post-menopause years. I'd love to meet you. I really would love to continue this conversation, but that would be for another video. So until then, you have a wonderful day.